Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Daine Hiranyakashi Purvakshadam Hiranyakashi Purvakshadam Shilakankanathalaye Shilakankanathalaye Tona Singha Paratona Singha Tona Singha Paratona Singha Yato Yamita Tona Singha Yato Yamita Tona Singha Vahina Singha Ridayena Singha Vahina Singha Ridayena Singha Sharanam Prapati Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapati Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapati Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapati Savakara Kamala Vare Latam Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Vakara Kamala Vare Napa Adhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakhamadhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Avatara Kamala Vare Nakhamadhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Narsimha Dev Narsimha Dev
Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Welcome to our Thursday evening Bhagavad-gita class. You know, Thursday evening means short class. And I'm showing you a poll over here. So 2 people have already responded. Both are feeling transcendental. So that's a good enough impetus to dive into the class further. So I'm going to end the poll now and stop sharing the screen with you all. And let us see here. So Bhagavad-gita. So we have been going through Bhagavad-gita for the past several days now. And chapter 3 is what we have been doing. And let me just close this poll here. All right. So it starts with Arjuna being confused through Krishna and not knowing what to do. And then Krishna explaining to him that, he has told him previously also that there are 2 types of people. One go through empirical formulas and try to find the self, and others do it through Buddhi Yoga. And then he cautions Arjuna that he should not abstain from working because everybody has to work. And if they don't even work, they'll be forced by their nature to do that, to do so. So then he goes on further and he tells us about the responsibilities of the human beings. And he says that, we have to sincerely try to control our senses. And even if we fail in that, it's much better than trying to be a pretender or a mithyachari. And he emphasizes on doing our duty. And then he also says that one of the duties of the human beings is to perform sacrifices for Vishnu. And one of the ways that you can sacrifice for Vishnu is to do your work as if it is a sacrifice, you're doing it for Krishna. And then he also goes, for the past few verses, he has been telling us about the origin of yajna, telling us that when this world was created, at that time, yajna also was created, and Krishna sent us all over here with the instructions to how to perform yajna. And he also said that if you perform the yajnas in this way, then you will please the demigods, and then they will be pleased by your sacrifices. Then there'll be prosperity for everybody. And then day before yesterday, we talked about that. What if I don't do that? What if I don't do sacrifices? Then he said that, if a person who does that is really a thief, right? And then Krishna is going to continue on in today's verse, which is text number 13, about what continues to happen to those who don't offer yajnas or offer whatever they're having, they don't offer it to Krishna, and versus those who do offer it to Krishna. So what happens in those cases, those 2 cases? So let me go back to my screen here and share the screen with you. So sharing my screen number 2, which has our dear Narasimha Dev, as well as the text number 13 is the text for today. So let's see here. Okay, so we will go through these texts over here after the short prayers to the spiritual master. Om Ajnanatimarandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Yajna Shishta Shinaha Santo Muchyante Sarvakil Bishai Munjate te tva agham papa ye pachanti atma karana yajna shishtashinah santo yajna shishtashinah santo muchyante sarvakil vishay bhunjate te tva agham papa ye pachanti atma karana yajna shishta shinaha santo muchyante sarvakil vishay bhunjate te tvagham papa ye pachanti atma karana. And the synonyms: yajna shishta, of food taking after the performance of yajna. Yajna shishta, the very, very important verse, is one of the key words of today's verse. Yajna shishta. Ashinaha means eater. Krishna says and uses this word in the ninth chapter, famous verse 9.25, right? And what is patram pushpam phalam toyam yame bhaktya pranachati tat aham bhakti uparitam ashnami priyat atmanaha, right? So ashnami is there. And then in the next verse, yat karosi yash ashnati. So that's ashnati is again there. So this means to eat. Santaha means devotees. Muchyante, get relief. Sarva, all kinds of. Kilbishay, from the sins. Kilbishay. Kilbishay sounds like a very nice musical word, but it says from the sins. Bhunjate, enjoy. Te, they, tu, but. Agham, grievous sins. Agham, papaha, so sinners. Ye, who. Pachanti, prepare food. Atma karanat, for sense enjoyment. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice, for yajna. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. And what kind of sins? Grievous sins. And what's the Sanskrit for grievous sins? Can you take out your notepad and tell me? Your electronic notepad. Agham. Agham is the right word. Yes. So, and so they are only eating sins. Agham, right? But the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins, right? The devotees, muchyante, they get relief. They are released from all kinds of sinful reactions. Okay, let's see, look at the purport by Srila Prabhupada. The devotees of the Supreme Lord or the persons who are in Krishna consciousness are called santas. They are sant, mahatmas. And they are always in love with the Lord as it is described in Brahma Samhita 5.38. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santah sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunasarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The santas, being always in a compact of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the giver of all pleasures, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person. So Govinda, one who gives pleasure to the senses, Mukunda, who gives liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person. Therefore, such devotees always perform yajnas in different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Ityadi. And these performances of yajnas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contamination of sinful association in the material world. Others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves, but also eaters of all kinds of sins. How can a person be happy if he is both a thief and sinful? It is not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy, in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yajna in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in this world. Okay, what's the Sanskrit for somebody who prepares food? What's the Sanskrit for that? Pachanti, yes, pachanti, right? And if you are freed from sins, what is that called? Muchyante, right? Muchyante. Okay, so and what is the food called which is taken after the performance of yajna? The food taken after the performance of yajna is called yajna shishta. That's very important. Yajna shishta is the important thing here, right? So it's it's a very interesting verse because it has a lot to do with what we do, right? We eat all the time. The first thing we think when we get up in the morning is, oh, what am I going to have for breakfast? Like that. So we need food. Food is a necessity. It's not that eating food is wrong. But then the process of eating the food is something that we have to keep in our minds, right? And so scientists also say, nutritionists, your personal coach for your health, and your spiritual master, all of them are going to tell you that you are what you eat. And it makes sense because something is going inside you, so you are that, right? So here they are telling us about, what are the effects that happen. In one end, Krishna is saying that if you offer, if you just eat food just for yourself, cooked it for yourself, pachanti for yourself, then you get huge sinful reaction from that, right? In the previous verse, you were called a thief, stena, right? Stena was thief. So you're a thief and you will suffer sinful reactions. On the other hand, if you are a devotee of the Lord, then muchyante, you'll be freed from the sinful reactions there, right? So, so now the focus here is on food, and then focus here is also on that it has an effect on you. And our Shastras tell us that whatever you eat, whatever is the kind of food that you eat, what you eat has an effect on your mind. So if you a clean food, if you eat a clean food, you will have a clean mind. If you have a clean mind, then you will do clean activities. You have to do clean activities to be able to go back to Godhead, right? If we eat unclean things, then the result will be all unclean throughout, like that. So we have to now see that here in this context, right? They're saying offer everything, right? And yajna shishta was eat food which is offered after the performance of yajna. So you do the yajna, you will offer the food to the demigods. And then we read that yesterday, that even if food is being offered to the demigods by themselves won't take it. They will offer it to Krishna and take his permission before they can even accept it, because not a blade of grass moves without the permission of the Lord. He is Uptrishta Anumanta. So the demigod, so the Lord is also available or seated as Paramatma even in the hearts of the demigods. Okay, so demigods are going to offer the food, but ultimately, whatever you offer is going to go to Krishna, right? So therefore, yajna shishta is, and so whatever are the remnants of a yajna, they are actually remnants of what Krishna has eaten. And whatever remnants that Krishna eats, whatever Krishna touches, that becomes transcendental. So those remnants become transcendental for us. And so, when we consume them, good things are going to happen to us, right? And if we don't purify the eatables that we have by first offering them to Krishna, then we are eating material things, and we're going to get the sinful reactions to that. So in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says that Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhrida Sarvabhutanam Yatva Mam Shantirchiti. So he says that, I am Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. I am the ultimate enjoyer of all the sacrifices that you do or anything that you offer. I am the ultimate enjoyer. So when you do anything or you eat anything, Ashnasi, then you should do it thinking that I am doing it for Krishna's enjoyment. Do that. When food is being cooked in the house, it should not be that I like dahi bhalla, so I'm going to make dahi bhalla, right? We make it that, I'm going to make the best dahi bhalla so that Krishna will be pleased when he has it. Like that, right? And so we can then we can go and have these remnants for ourselves. Right? So we have to remember that, whatever food that you're eating, not only does it become your outer body, like, if you take a lot of fresh fruit or, citric fruits and, antioxidants and things like that, your skin is going to become beautiful. Yes, they tell that to ladies especially, but that's all the outer covering. But the food also has effect on the inner or on the subtle body, right? Because, and we read in the Bhagavad-gita, we'll come to it again later on, about, the food can be in the mode of goodness, can be in the mode of passion, it can be in the mode of ignorance, and it'll have the subsequent effect on our body like that. So now here this verse is saying that, Yagya Shishtana, so it's been offered to Krishna. Now let's see that, we are offering these this food stuff to the demigod, right? We are giving it to the demigod, and then the demigods are going to pass it on to Krishna. Now, so of course it is said here very, very clearly, it has been said like that you're going to do that. But we also see every now and then when we look at the scriptures, right? When we look at the scriptures and we see a lot of leelas that Krishna is performing, right? And so when Krishna is performing these leelas, he is in these leelas, for example, the Govardhan Leela, right? So in the Govardhan Leela, what happens is that Krishna tells Nanda Maharaj not to give the offerings to Indra. And he says, instead, you should directly offer them to the Lord. So offer them to Govardhan Hill, like that, right? And then Indra gets angry, and so he starts pouring the water. So remember, water is one of the necessities of life, which demigods are supposed to provide us. That's what we read in the previous verse. But if the demigods get angry, then that same necessity can become a killer for us. So he put on so much of, he put so much, he sent actually the Samyantak clouds, which are actually used when there is devastation is going to happen through water, the water devastation. At that time, those clouds are used. And Indra was so angry that he sent those. But of course, we know that Krishna's small boy, he lifted the Govardhan hill on his pinky finger, and the whole Govardhan village was underneath that. So we see that one example of when a demigod tried to mess up with the devotees, and then Krishna, squashed the plans. Then we also hear, among other things, we also hear about we hear about Brahma Vimohan Leela, right? So Brahma has a doubt that how can this little boy be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So let me hide. So he goes and hides the cows and the calves, and then Krishna, by his Maya, he creates similar cows and calves and cowherd boys. And Brahma actually had hidden them for just a little while, but on this planet it became 1 year. And then of course Brahma Vimohan, his bewilderment was broken, and then he's very apologetic and he prays to Krishna. And we have those prayers in the Bhagavatam like that. So again, a very powerful demigod like Brahma tried to mess up with Krishna and his devotees, and Krishna again squashed his plans. So we have to, why does Krishna do these kinds of pastimes? Why does he display these kind of pastimes, right? So we have to remember that he's doing those pastimes for us, so that we who are in closer touch with the demigods and sometimes might be mistaken to think that the demigods are everything because they are the suppliers of our necessities, and that's what I need, and I should really worship the supplier of my necessity, right? That's why we behave nicely with our bosses at work, right? Because they give us the money for our supplies. And so Krishna always will come and have these few pastimes so that we are all reminded that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and even the demigods are under his control. The demigods really cannot do it. Even if they try to mess up with him, they just cannot do it. Okay, so Krishna is a supreme personality Godhead. So we are offering food to Krishna, yagya shishta, right? And then we eat that food, right? On the other hand, this verse was talking about that if we don't do that, if instead we just cook and we eat for ourselves. Now, what will we cook? What will we eat? When it comes to offering food to Krishna, Krishna has given us the syllabus. He has given us the manual, right? The do's and the don'ts. What does he say? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti ubharitam ashnami prayatmatmanaha. Right? So if somebody offers me with love and devotion, a little fruit, a little water, a leaf, right? And I will take it. He will take it. So he has given you the prescription. He did not say that give me some pulao, biryani, he did not say chicken tikka. He did not say any of those things. So those things are not allowed. But so when you are sitting and you're preparing food for Krishna, so then you will consult your manual. You say, okay, I'm going to prepare for Krishna. You have to ask, right? There's sometimes like, somebody whom you love a lot. And here in the purport, Prabhupada was talking about Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanenas. He's talking about love. So these offerings that we make for Krishna, there has to be a big element of love in it. And the other day I was telling you about offering bhoga, cooking bhoga, and I said that the home rules are very, very lenient as compared to the rules of the temple. And the reason for that is that the work atmosphere at home is different, responsibilities are different, and so on and so forth. So don't unnecessarily complicate our lives. Also do your offering to Krishna with love and devotion. You're making it for Krishna, doing it with love and devotions. Devotees are usually in the mode of goodness. They will cook the food with a very nice, no hurry and scurry and things like that. They will do it with a cool mind. They will have something playing in the background. That mind is at rest, and then that nice atmosphere, they'll prepare the bhoga for the Lord, right? On the other hand, so this is with love and devotion. On the other hand, the non-believers, those who are just cooking for themselves, so they will say, aha, I want to eat, chicken tangri today. All right. So there is the lust there. There's a desire for me to satisfy my senses. I want to eat this. I'm going to cook this. I want this. I want that. Right? And so they will say, so there will be a lust over there. And then, of course, they will, cooking it. They might put some, jazz music or some, loud music or, listening to all kinds of nonsense. They could be doing that, watching the TV and cooking. Some horrible, episode is coming on the TV. And so the mind is completely polluted. And that consciousness gets into the food. So that is one way of, spoiling the food. The second is the choice of the food itself. So it could be that you're eating meat, right? So human beings have this tendency. Souls have got this tendency to want to eat meat in general, unless you're so lucky that you're born in a family that is full of vegetarians, right? So you were taught from the childhood to be a vegetarian. You can look at the numbers here in the world, how many vegetarians are there and how many non-veg are there. So that the general tendency is there in the human being to do that. And so they might want to cook some meat. Now, so here they are saying that they verily eat only sin. And why is it a sin? Because look at the way the animal is killed. And even before the animal is killed, look at the way the animals are kept, right? They are kept in very horrible conditions. Literally they have to stand one on top of the other, or they're all, stuffed into a cage with barely any space to move. And these are animals of the, nature. They like moving outside. They don't like confined places like us. So we do that to them. And then, of course, just before the animal is being slaughtered, the animal comes to know that it is going to die. And so at that time, there is a lot of fear, because death is dead, death is fearsome. So there's a lot of fear. And then here's the interesting thing, that when a person is very in the grips of fear and is going through all that, then another emotion also comes, and that is anger. So it is a very interesting instance I remember from my when I many couple of decades earlier, that I was in Delhi and was living in a flat, and so it had a patio which was made from, there were tiles on the patio, and I had not even seen this creature ever in my life before, but these are what are called here in America as gophers, those big gophers. And there in the Punjabi language, they used to call it geese or something like that. So anyway, they can burrow, underneath your home. So they had burrowed big holes underneath my home, and so much so that the tiles, in India, they're big marble tiles are there. So the tiles had sunk and they went inside, they had sunk a little bit like that into the patio. And so anyway, one day I was returning from the shopping and I saw this outside and I was like, oh, this looked like a big rat to me. So both of us were scared. He was scared of me. I was scared of that. And I had some stick or something like that. And I was saying, shoo, 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 like that, trying to make it go. And the gopher was confused and he started running inside in the patio, and he found that he was cornered. So he was running here and there, and then he was cornered, and I was there with the stick. And the gopher suddenly turned around and then showed its teeth to me. And that was the time that I threw the trick and I ran inside the home. So, when you are in the grips of extremes of fear, then at some point, animals will also get angry. So now fear and anger has gone inside the body. It has gone and affected the whole animal, right? And then we can make shami kebab or tikki kebab or whatever, soup, stew, whatever, chili, right? You make all that with that flesh, which has got that thing inside it. So you are what you eat. So you're eating all that. And when you eat that, then two things are going to come into you: anger and fear. So people, generally who are vegetarians, they are in the mode of goodness. They take things lying low. Meat will take you to ignorance and passion. And so that's why, they are always in fear. Somebody new joins the company and they will be like, okay, now this person is going to take my position. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, this is going to be happening. They're always that fear, 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 fear. And then anger. So studies were done, one of our, I was listening to one of the lectures, and they said that the New York police had done some studies on people who do murder and how do they murder. So those who were non-vegetarians actually were capable of killing in a very ghastly manner. They could do more of that. Why? Because that anger is inside, which makes you do all that. So if you eat all that, right, the body becomes dirty, the mind becomes dirty. And the character becomes dirty, habit becomes dirty, and the destination is dirty because you go down to the hellish planets after doing that, right? So here this verse is strongly recommending that, don't do that. Number one, don't eat meat, etc. And number two, even if it is a non-meat item, even if it's a vegetable, you should offer it to Krishna. Why? Because the first reason why you'd like to offer those things to Krishna is that because you want to express your gratitude, right? Love and gratitude. Even if you don't have love, at least have gratitude, right? And we had talked in the previous classes about, what a fantastic thing this is, what a fantastic arrangement Krishna has made. There are so many fruits, so many flavors, right? So many varieties of grains, 10-grain bread, right? Like that. So there's so many varieties Krishna has arranged for us, and they happen automatically, right? You throw some seeds and a plant comes out, and at the right time it will start giving you fruits. Don't have to do anything, don't have to send the plants to college or to school or pay their fees, nothing. You get everything like that, right? So out of gratitude, out of sheer gratitude, a bhakta, just wants to do this and says, okay, Krishna, you have given this thing for me, you have arranged these things for me, Krishna, okay, why didn't you have a little bit of that, right? It's almost like, how kids also do. They use their father's money, they'll buy something from the father's money, and then they'll go and gift it to the father itself. But the father feels very happy that the child has done that, although it's the father's money. The same thing Krishna also happens to Krishna, that he's like, when when we give something back to Krishna, he's supremely pleased by that. So then, so this was not eating meat. Then also there are other injunctions, right? There are other injunctions. For example, Ekadashi, it's coming. Saturday is Ekadashi. So on Ekadashi, don't eat grains, right? Because sins go and reside in the grains on Ekadashi. So now, don't eat grains, but you can eat anything and everything else. And so this is an austerity. This is a control. This is a little austerity that I'm doing for Krishna. Krishna has said, don't eat, so I will not eat. I'm doing it for Krishna, right? Going through this little austerity. And so ideally, one should fast on Ekadashi. But if you can't fast on Ekadashi because, your stomach will start gurgling, you might have acidity in your stomach, or you're taking medications and things like that, then eat. There are so many other things that you can eat. And I have sometimes noticed that the Ekadashi feast is more sumptuous than the ordinary day feast, because we are not eating grains, so we have to eat 10 other things, right? So ideally, we should eat, like, don't eat or have some water. If you can't have some water, then have some fruits, falahar. And then if you can't have falahar, then you have shakahar. Shaka means you can now have vegetables. And inside a vegetable is your kutu, atta, and all those things are also come considered as part of shakahar. Right? Now, one of the things to remember is that if you go to Jagannath Puri, now there are Krishna in his 4 dhams does different things, right? I don't remember which is which, but 2 I definitely remember that in Dwarka, Krishna dresses nicely. So that's why you see him as Dwarkadhish, right? And all the regal paraphernalia of a king, he's there in Dwarkadhish, right? In Jagannath, Krishna does what? What does Krishna do in Jagannath? Anybody know? Take out your pad and let me know. In Jagannath Puri, what does Krishna do as Lord Jagannath? So in Jagannath Puri, Krishna just eats and eats and eats, and as Garima is telling us, chappan bhoga, chappan time, like so many varieties, 56 times he's going to eat. And if you go there, they'll proudly show you the kitchen, and they have a very nice, they put 9 vessels, one on top of the other. They put the fire below and it cooks. And you should see the pandas carrying the food. They put a little stick on their shoulder, and there will be 2 pots hanging on other sides through ropes, and they're carrying it there, and they have to take a shower. So it's pretty strict the way their food is cooked, etc. Now there in Jagannath Puri, Krishna lives a very easygoing life. For example, there's no fixed time when you're going to have the Mangalarti, when he's going to eat, whenever Krishna wakes up, and the head priest somehow knows when he has woken up. He has his connections. And so there's constant cooking going on, so much so that, as Garima Mataji pointed out, that in Jagannath Puri, on Ekadashi Day also, they don't do any fasting. They eat grains on Ekadashi. Now comes the question that, if I go to Jagannath Puri on Ekadashi, what should I do? Should I live in Rome as Romans do? And should I also start eating Anna? Or what should I do, right? So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to Jagannath Puri, the same situation was there, right? So he had said that that's fine. Let the people in Jagannath Puri do whatever they want to do. And this is something very, very important we need to keep in mind, that those people who live in Mayapur, Vrindavan, and Jagannath Puri, they are Dham Vasis. And so they are totally different category of people, and we should not try to equate ourselves with them, right? And let Krishna eat whatever he wants to eat. He's the sole proprietor. If he wants to eat grains on Ekadashi, let him eat grains, right? But if the prasadam is offered to us, we should just say no. Today's Ekadashi, you can keep it for the next day. If you can't keep it for the next day, then, give it to some animal. Or worst case, give it to some people who would have never eaten prasadam in their life, like, malechas and like that. Give it to them. But you don't eat grains on Ekadashi. It's strictly said then not to eat it, right? And so your question, Bharshana Mataji, that should we not take medicines on Ekadashi? Well, like I said, those who have to take medications have to take medications, right? So you will eat something, but no medication says that you have to eat chapati before taking medicine. They just say don't take it on an empty stomach, which means that you can have fruits, right? Or you can have phala, shakahar, and things like that, right? Now, if you know that some medication is is very, very important for you to keep your body and soul together, you have to take it, right? Because the first thing is to stay alive, to be able to do Krishna consciousness. The second thing is there are some medications which are, you're taking them, but you can do without a medication one day if you don't take it. For example, if there's a cough syrup you're taking. Now, cough syrup might have corn syrup inside it, so that's not Ekadashi. And there are usually Ekadashi equivalent of all of these things, right? You take some homemade medication for remedy for cough. So you can do all that. So make a judicious choice and a judicious discrimination about what should you have and what should you not have on this day. So this was about those who eat prasadam and don't you do. Now offering bhoga and prasadam to Krishna, I already talked to you about that, right? We covered that last time and how you're going to do that, right? And now we talked about the bad people and what to do on Ekadashi and what not to do on Ekadashi, right? Now a little bit more, I'd like to talk about the what is that called? Glorification about prasadam. And I'm not going to talk to you about many prasadam pastimes, but you all know there are a lot of prasadam pastimes, right? In Jagannath Puri, they will fight, that Jagannath and Baldev will fight about prasadam and Khirchor, Gopinath. So there's so many pastimes of prasadam that is there. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is that a lot of people, especially and since a lot of people are impersonalists, right? So they don't believe in the form of the Lord. So when they don't believe in the form of the Lord, they will say that Lord is formless. He doesn't have a mouth. So how will he eat? He doesn't eat. So they won't offer anything to the Lord, right? Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that, okay, so let's just extrapolate your theory that Lord doesn't have a form, he doesn't have a mouth. So let us extrapolate. This means because he doesn't have a form, he won't have hands also. Now, the question is that if he doesn't have hands, how did he create? So if you're saying that Krishna can create things even though he doesn't have a hand, then Krishna can also eat things although he doesn't have a mouth, right? So these are bogus theories, just put forward because you don't love Krishna enough. You don't love Krishna enough to think that, how can I eat food without them eating food, right? Like somebody comes to your home. If you don't like that person, right, you won't offer them anything, right? Or worst case, we might just say, I've got apples in my home, Sonal Mataji, but I know you don't like apples. So that's why I'm not serving you apples. The main thing was not that she doesn't like apples. It's that I don't want to give you my apples, right? So that is the mood. When a person has got that kind of a mood that you don't want to share anything with Krishna, then they will come forward with these kind of theses and these kind of hypotheses and say that, Krishna doesn't have a mouth, he doesn't have a shape. What will he do? Right? On the other hand, when we have a devotee, so the devotee will sit down, then he will put the plate before Krishna, and then he will let him eat in peace. He'll put the plate for 20 minutes over there. And then he'll say, oh, he might be feeling hot. So he will start fanning him. So you see the difference, the mood and the difference is there, right? And of course, Krishna will be pleased, and Krishna will be pleased, then, he will eat it. And then he eats it, because sometimes Krishna doesn't eat it. And the Pandas at Jagannath Puri, they know Krishna did not eat it. And then you know what happens? Everything that was cooked is thrown down the drain because Krishna didn't eat it. So they're so particular about, I only take prasadam all the time, right? So that is why we have this wonderful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm going to bring that verse up here. And as soon as I bring that up, you all will remember and recognize what that verse is here. So let's get going here, sharing desktop number 2. And it says, Tvayopabhukta Shraggandha Vasolankara Charchitaha Uchishta Bhojino Dasas Tava Mayam Jayemahi. So now, what verse is this? What is so familiar with this? What does this remind you of? Tvayopabhukta, Tvaya upabhukta, Shrakkandha, Vasolankara Charchitaha, Uchishta Bhojino Dasas, Tvaya Maya, Tava Maya, Joyemahi. What does this remind you of? Do you remember anything about this verse? Does it seem familiar to you? Have you heard it anywhere? Have you heard anybody singing this verse? Does it remind you? And Bhagavad-devi Dasi Mataji says these are the prasadam prayers. Yes, at ISV, this verse was specifically added. And what does it say? Now look at this beauty of prasadam. Simply, and what is prasadam? Simply by decorating ourselves with the garlands, which is prasadam, fragrant oils, which is prasadam, clothes and ornaments, this is also prasadam, that you have already enjoyed. And by eating the remnants of your meals, we, your servants, will indeed conquer your illusory energy. What do you say about that? So many things. Just by eating prasadam, it's saying that we will be able to conquer your illusory energy. And that is why they say that we should be going after. And what was the famous word? What was the most important word? As I said in today's verse, I said it's a very, very important word. And that important word is, can anybody remember? Can you tell me? Will you tell me? What was the important word from today's verse, which I said is the most important word? And I'm looking at some answers. Varsha Malik Mataji, Varshana Mataji says Yagya Shishta, and that's correct. Sukumal Radhe, well, Yagya Shishta, and Garima does a +1. That's smart. Yes, so Yagya Shishta is something that Krishna has used. And here in this previous verse was a whole list of things that Krishna can use. And once he gives them to you, then if you use them, then you get liberated. Mayam Jayemahi, to win over and to conquer over Maya, right? Is what everybody, all of us aim for that, right? So, Yagya Shishta. Now, I'm going to tell you a very nice story from Srimad Bhagavatam about Yagya Shishta and what exactly. So we saw we saw garlands, right? Fragrant smells, clothes, ornaments Krishna has put on, or food that he has set aside, right? Uchitsam, right? So he's left remnant of the food, right? So these should be remnants of Krishna. You can eat remnants of Krishna or Krishna's exalted devotees. We should not just eat remnants of everybody. So when you are in school, kids are in school and they all say, oh, we went outside. Oh, we just shared a bottle of water. No. If you share a bottle of water and everybody takes a swig from it, then you are eating remnants of so many in the group. So you have to be careful because you get apart from the germs, which is obvious, you also get the consciousness through that. Okay? So we have to be careful about that. Now, let's look at the remnants of Krishna and how wonderful story that is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that story basically says that Marichi Rishi. So Marichi Rishi, who's a Prajapati, he had 6 sons. And there's, of course, in those times, the beginning of time of creation. And Brahma is there. Brahma is also creating things. And Brahma creates a lady. So when Brahma creates somebody, that person becomes Brahma's son or daughter. So that lady becomes his daughter. But he has created such a beautiful person that Brahma gets attracted. So we have to keep this in mind that Maya is so strong. Maya is so, so strong. So everybody has to be very careful. That if a person at the level of Brahma, who's such an exalted devotee, can get attracted by the female form, what to talk of us, right? So he got attracted to her. And he started running after her. She started running away from the father, female instinct, and the father started running after her. And these 6 sons of Marichi saw that, and then they laughed at Brahma. Now, it's one thing to see somebody doing wrong. It is something to see an exalted devotee doing something wrong. And mentally you think that this is wrong. And it is another thing to say about it. And the worst thing is to laugh about it, right? Api chet suduracharo bhajte mam ananya bhag sadhureva samantavya, right? Even if they're doing something wrong, from your side, you consider them to be still sadhus because they're doing devotional service. What if they have fallen down? They will rise again. That should be our mood. Now, Krishna will take care. Whatever wrong they have done, we are not saying that whatever wrong they did is right. All that I'm saying is I am no one to judge. Why? Because when I look inside my heart, I have got worse things than what Brahma did, like that. So that's what our mood is. So they were laughing, and so that became an offense because they laughed at a Vaishnava. So they had to suffer from that. And so when does the suffering happen? The suffering happens many, many yugas later. And so they are born as the sons of Devaki, and who are born, 6 or 7 sons of Devaki. They are born, I think 6. And they're all killed, right? As soon as they're born, then Kamsa comes and he kills them. So they go back to some planet, right? And where they continue to suffer. And then, of course, we all know that Krishna is born, and then after Krishna, that Yogmaya is born, and so on and so forth. Right? So then Krishna grows up and becomes older, and all those kinds of things are happening. And then one day, his mother Devaki talks to Krishna, and she says that, what, I remember my firstborn, because it's very difficult to forget your firstborn, especially if they are dead. So he says, I really remember those, 6 children that I had, 6 sons. And then she says, hey, your teacher asked you, when you asked your teacher what the Guru Dakshina you should give, so teacher said, bring back my dead son. And you did that. You brought back his dead son. So now you are my son. You bring back my 6 sons. I want to see them. So Krishna then goes. And where were those 6 sons living? They were living in the Netherlands, in the lower planetary systems. They had gone there. And there they were actually in the planet of Bali Maharaj, which is called Sutala. So Krishna goes to Sutala. And when he goes to Sutala, Bali Maharaj is very, very happy that Krishna has come there. And because he's a devotee of Krishna. So he goes to Krishna and says that, okay, welcomes him and, offers him nice things. And then Krishna says, you know what, I want those 6 of my brothers back. So then he agrees and he gives them. And so Krishna takes those souls and then converts them into small baby bodies so that the mom can remember, as they were born. So when he brings back the 6 brothers, then Devaki looks at them and she's so overwhelmed with love for her sons that that milk begins to flow from her breast, and she gives them milk to drink. So she suckles them, right? And then she's very, very happy. And then she's very happy. She thanks Krishna and she sees that and she understands everything. And then by sucking that milk, the 6 are liberated. They get liberated, right? Now, here is the interesting thing about Yajna Shishta, right? Now, a series of Devaki's children were being killed, right? And then one survived, right? Krishna survived. And when he was born, Devaki, and then Devaki had fed milk to Krishna, right? So Devaki's breast, which he was using to feed, becomes Yajna Shishta, becomes prasadam, right? The milk, the whole milk becomes transcendentalized. So that later on, when those 6 brothers come and they suckle, they get liberated. So that is how powerful prasadam is, because it gets in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that it can act many, 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 many years later also, right? So we should have that kind of a respect for prasadam, but we should not be gluttonous, eat only as much as you would normally eat, you eat. Or if somebody has given you a lot of prasadam to eat, one of the things to remember is eat what you take and take what you can eat. right? So if somebody has given you like 6 laddus, doesn't mean you have to eat all 6 of them. You take one in your plate and eat it. If you still want to eat some more, take another one and eat it. Let the 4 remain there separately and cleanly, right? So hogging it up on the pretense that I'm having prasadam is not a good activity, right? Ideally, all of these things are meant for sense control. So if you just go on a binge, on a prasadam binge, then there's no sense that we are controlling like that, right? So you should keep that in mind. So this verse today is still telling you exactly that if you take the yajna shishta, something that has been offered to Krishna, it has got immense potential to liberate us and to benefit us. On the other hand, if we do things whimsically without paying any attention to the shastras, then we are kind of on our own. It doesn't, we will suffer and we'll soon be going to the hellish planets like that. Okay. So with that, I'm going to open up the lines for the next 8 minutes and take up your reflections and any questions that you have. And okay, let's go. If you have any questions, you can also raise your hands so that it becomes easy for us to monitor your things. Okay, Vaishana Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. Wonderful explanation, Mataji. Mataji, what did you say before this? Take what you can eat. Before this, you said one sentence.
Eat what you take. Eat what you take is that don't leave any remnants on your plate. No Mahaprasad for others.
Thank you, Mataji.
Mm-hmm. Vindhyavali Mataji.
In Puri, Mataji, what I heard, they say, whatever, somebody's plate, you can eat it. That also they don't mind there in Puri.
Yes, in Puri, yes.
And then about Ekadasi, I never heard like that. Everything Puri is, they say Sarvam Jagannatham. So they don't observe anything. That's what I heard. Even this eating from others' plate and like that, everything they say in Puri. Only in Puri.
Yeah, because they consider prasadam. Yeah, they consider prasadam to be highly transcendental. And like I said, when you look at the people who are living in Puri, people who are in Puri, right? So they are Dhamvasis. So always look at Dhamvasis with a different pair of eyes. For Puri specifically, it is said that that when the demigods look at the people in Puri, they see all of them with 4 hands.
Yeah, they say that's Puri. That's a word they used to use, Sarvam Jagannatham, they used to say.
Yeah, because of that, everybody looks like Vishnu there, right? Yeah. So, but we are from outside, so we cannot just, we are not Romans. So let's not try to imitate them. Yeah. We have our own regimentation to follow and we follow our regimentation. So that's why
I enjoyed Puri like almost 3-4 years. We used to live in Cuttack close by. So every other day we used to go to Puri and then have darshan and then nicely inside prasad, that production, everything. We used to do it, have prasad. Just buy, but that rice, if you buy rice, there used to be a clay pot. They break the pot and then give the half pot like this to you. And that rice, you can see this much only. But when you separate the rice, that will come this much. That much, we always used to make this tamarind rice paste we used to make and take it there. And then that rice we used to buy and mix it, and that prasadam we used to eat it. Like that. That's what we eat.
Virabhava.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavats Pranam. Actually, I had a question. You said that we should offer Krishna food with gratitude and love. And being like in the neophyte stage of devotional service, that doesn't really, you don't really have that that kind of feeling. Like you're so used to eating food for yourself, like you sometimes forget that it's like even though you offer it to Krishna, you don't have that genuine feeling. Bhava. Of,
Virabhava is saying that.
of offering it to Krishna. So it's more like you're doing it mechanically. You're not doing it out of, like love. So how do you develop that love, that you do it out of, at least out of gratitude, not if love?
Yeah. So gratitude you can do, you can philosophize and, bring in the concept of gratitude, right? If you just start to extrapolate, you will know that everything is coming from Krishna, right? Like you can't grow anything unless there is Krishna's mercy, right? Unless the demigod pour rains on it, no wheat fields will grow, and things like that, right? You can philosophize it. Now Vaisheshika Prabhu says, you fake it till you make it.
Okay.
So you keep on offering, I mean, look at, these days boys and girls meet each other, they fall in love, they get married, generally 90% of the places it happens like that, right? But look at the arranged marriages that happen in India, that used to happen at least, a lot more, right? The girl didn't even know the husband didn't know the girl. She was sent to get married with not the sense that enjoyment was her purpose. Her sole purpose in life, the parents taught her, was to serve her husband. And then by serving the husband for so many years, then love would develop later on. Through the process of seva, after doing a seva for such a long time, then love would develop. So if you continue to serve the deities, love will develop. The devotee will reciprocate. And from your heart, Krishna will do those things. Krishna will do those things. And I think I sent, somebody sent me a picture, somebody sent me a video. I think it's in Mayapur Bihari Prabhu. I posted it on our corporate books team.
Yeah, I have to look at it.
Yeah. So basically, what it's saying, it's talking about the book distributors, and so he's saying that when a book distributor distributes books, spends his whole time, and of course Krishna is pleased because he says that's the most pleasing activity. And then he says that at the time that Krishna, that when the devotee is dying, he says that Krishna says, I get into his heart and I force him to remember me. So that's the reciprocation Krishna does. So he will reciprocate. I mean, it's the easiest thing that you can ask Krishna, give me love for you. And he will give you. Why not? Why not? He's very, very, munificent. He will do that for you. But keep practicing. That's why abhyas. All of us are doing, this is just abhyas only. So why don't we love Krishna? Right? A husband might ask the wife, why don't you love me? Because loving is a natural thing, right? Kids love the parents, parents love the kids, right? We love our siblings. How come we're not able to love the husband? Because we love somebody more. Something we love more than loving the husband. And Krishna is our husband that way, right? So when you love somebody more, so what do you have to do? You have to practice it. Practice. So bhakti, devotion, the pure devotion means doing something with love for Krishna. So in the beginning, we don't do it. This is known as Vaidhi Bhakti. It is under rules and regulations. Why do you chant Krishna's name? Because Guru Maharaj told me to do it. If I don't do it, Guru Maharaj will be angry and I don't know what's going to happen to me. That's the mood in which we are chanting, right? Later on, when love for Krishna will come automatically to you, then you would like to chant his names all the time, right? I mean, look at mothers, right? When they have a small kid, and you sit with them for 2 hours and they will be reciting all the things about their child. 2 hours non-stop they can talk about. Mera Sonu, Mera Monu. Kya kara? Right? So they're chanting the names of their son, right? Because of love.
Yeah.
Similarly, when you go to some of these exalted devotees, I mean, they're sitting and they are talking. And somebody was also saying that your progress in devotional service is actually also determined by that when you're eating, what are you discussing? So when you're eating, are you discussing politics? Are you discussing which film actor is having an affair with which one? Or are you discussing Krishna Katha? So it all depends on that, right? So do practice. Practice makes a man perfect. It makes a woman also perfect. Okay. So with that nice mood, I'll have to take your leave because at 8 o'clock, I need to close this down. So those of us watching us on Facebook, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and Hare Krishna.
So Krishna Mataji, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhabhyevacha. Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Hare Krishna to everybody. Hare Hare Bol.